The year was 1863, and the United States was embroiled in the most devastating conflict it had ever known, the American Civil War. The war had been raging for 2 years, dividing the country into two factions, the Union Northern States and the Confederacy Southern States. The conflict was primarily over issues like slavery, states' rights, and the future of the nation. In the summer of 1863, General Robert E. Lee, leader of the Confederate Army, decided to take the war to the North. He hoped that a decisive victory on Union soil would demoralize the North and encourage European powers to recognize the Confederacy as an independent nation. Lee's army crossed into Pennsylvania, and the stage was set for what would become one of the most famous battles in American history, the Battle of Gettysburg. The battle began on July 1st, 1863, when Confederate forces clashed with Union soldiers in the small town of Gettysburg. Initially, the Confederates had the upper hand, pushing the Union forces back. But by the second day, the Union Army, commanded by General George G. Meade, had reinforced their position on high ground south of the town, including the strategic Cemetery Hill and Little Round Top. The fighting on the second day was intense. The Confederates launched multiple assaults on the Union's positions, but the Union soldiers held firm. One of the most famous moments occurred when Union forces successfully defended Little Round Top, preventing the Confederates from gaining control of the high ground. The Union soldiers, outnumbered and exhausted, fought fiercely to keep their position. On the third day, Lee made his most famous and disastrous move, the charge on the center of the Union line, known as Pickett's Charge. General George Pickett, leading a division of Confederate soldiers, marched across an open field under heavy artillery fire in an attempt to break through the Union lines. The charge was a failure, with massive casualties for the Confederates. The Union Army held its ground, and the Confederate forces were forced to retreat. The Battle of Gettysburg was a turning point in the Civil War. The Union's victory halted Lee's invasion of the North and dealt a major blow to the Confederate Army. More than 50,000 soldiers were killed, wounded, or missing in action, making it one of the bloodiest battles in American history. President Abraham Lincoln later visited the site to dedicate a cemetery for the fallen soldiers. In his famous Gettysburg Address, he reminded the nation that the war was not only about preserving the Union but also about ensuring that government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth. The Union's victory at Gettysburg, combined with other defeats suffered by the Confederacy in the following months, marked the beginning of the end for the Confederacy. The Civil War would continue for 2 more years, but the Battle of Gettysburg remains one of the most significant and symbolic events of the war, representing the sacrifice, determination, and ultimate triumph of the Union.